Mr. President, this week I filed a bill, so I do multiple different weeks. I don't come every week to be able to talk about the bills that I filed, but I want to be able to talk about this one a little bit and some context that comes into it. I also don't come to this floor very often and read an entire bill to this body, but I want to do that today. It's not long. It's literally just half a page. But it reaffirms something I think it should be pretty simple for all of us, but for some reason it has become controversial in the past few decades. Here's the whole bill. It says none of the funds made available under this act may be provided to any public institution of higher education that denies to a religious student organization any right, benefit, or privilege that is otherwise afforded to other student organizations at the institution, including full access to the facilities of the institution and official recognition of the organization by the institution because of the religious beliefs, practices, speech, leadership standards, or standards of conduct of the religious student organization. Now, this should be pretty simple for us as Americans. We should treat religious organizations on a college campus the same as every other organization. The university shouldn't be able to reach into some organization and say, because you're religious, we need to tone you down. Or because you're religious, we need to pick your leadership for you because we want to pick your leadership. I would tell you, for most Americans, they would say, no one does that anyway, except they did. Under the Biden administration, this became an issue where multiple different colleges and universities would reach into different religious organizations on campus and would deny them access to be able to be on campus and use campus facilities at all. Or they would say, we don't like the way you pick your leadership. You need to have a broader perspective of leadership from multiple different perspectives of the campus. It can't be just your particular faith in your religious organization. It became the most bizarre set of ideas that came out of the Department of Education to say a Jewish organization had to pick non-Jewish leaders to be the leadership of their organization, or non-Christians had to also be selected as leaders of their Christian organization on campus. We're like, what in the world? What happened to the basic right of association and affiliation that is a constitutionally protected right? That never happened to non-religious organizations. It seemed to only happen to religious organizations. So while we have common agreement on this as Americans, and while that rule is now not being applied under the Trump administration, I raise a very simple bill to say, why can't we as all Americans agree that religious organizations on college campuses should be treated exactly the same as every other organization on any college campus? That should be basic. So I bring a very simple bill to be able to resolve that one big issue. And to say, let's make this once for all just the policy that we have as Americans. Now, I bring this up because it needs to be addressed. But I also bring this up because next week there's a significant event that's going to happen all around the country, quite frankly, all around the world, that some people won't even notice, but quite frankly is earth-shattering. 35 years ago, a group of students gathered around a flagpole early in the morning to be able to pray for their school. It was in 1990. It ended up being about 46,000 total students in 4 different states, including my state of Oklahoma, that just kind of gathered. The word kind of spread organically that one Wednesday morning in September, students, high school and middle school students, would just go and do one day publicly what they do privately other days. That is, pray for their teachers, pray for their faculty at school, pray for each other, pray for their parents, pray for the nation. So in September of 1990, around 46,000, we don't know the exact number, students in 4 different states just quietly gathered to pray. Now that may not seem like a big deal, but in 1990, there was a great debate that was still spinning on this issue. In fact, that year, that September day, at least one of those gatherings, the sheriff's department came out and arrested the students for praying on their school campus before class started. The result of that was, the next September, 1 million students showed up to pray. 1 million, documented. From almost every state in America, teenagers showed up at their college camp, or their high school or their middle school campus just to be able to pray. They didn't have teachers with them, they didn't have youth pastors with them, just students. They gathered at their pole. It was a simple thing called "See You at the Pole," just that simple. And they would encourage each other just to be able to show up that one day in September to be able to pray publicly for their parents, for their nation, for their campus, for what was going on in their community. It became the largest student prayer movement that we know of in the history of the nation. Year after year, in September, one Wednesday, students from around the nation would gather up. It was about 3 years later, it started spreading globally, to where literally students from around the world were just going to their flagpole, and they would just gather to be able to pray. Now, people have said over the years, why a flagpole? Well, it's because every school has a flagpole, and so it became just a common cry. It kind of seems like "see you at the principal's office" doesn't ring as true, but it was just like, what does every single campus have? Every single campus has a flagpole. So that simple statement, "see you at the pole," became really a challenge to say, see you at a spot where we can pray. There's a lot going on in the country right now. A lot. There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of frustration, and there are a lot of questions about what happens next. For 35 years, students have gone to their flagpole and have prayed for the nation. And my simple request of them again this year is to do it again. This nation could use some prayer. This nation could use a generation rising up to be able to say, no one's going to stop us from praying. It is the most simple request that we have. To not go to government, but to go to God and say, we need your help. We need your intervention. I'm always proud of a group of students at a high school football game that finish the game or that start the game with just taking a knee to be able to pray for each other, pray for safety, and then go out and hit each other as hard as they possibly can on the football field. But it's always fun for me to be able to watch the sportsmanship that begins with two teams that gather together to pray, and it's almost always just one player on each of the teams that drops that idea and says, we should do this. Our team should do this. It's not led by the coaches. It's not led by the teachers. It's led by students that just say, let's ask God to help us in this. I'm always impressed when I'm on high school and junior high campuses as I walk around the campus during lunch and I see everybody kind of gathering for lunch and all the conversation happening, and I'll see a couple of students over in the corner as they sit down at their lunch to be able to just bow their head for just a simple moment to be able to thank God for their food. I'm always impressed when I hear about groups of students that get together on a regular basis just to be able to have Bible study together, or just to be able to pray for each other. They face a lot of pressure. They face a lot of challenges in this day and age. It's resetting and centering when they actually stop to say, let's pray about that. And I'm tremendously impressed that for 35 years, now a second generation of students are gathering at their flagpoles, the fourth Wednesday of September, to be able to just pray for each other, pray for their teachers, pray for their school, and this time, an earnest plea to God to help our nation. I'm proud of students of faith and how they gather to be able to say, these days are dark, but we believe in a God who gives light. And we will choose to be a light on our own campus and to be able to do what we can to be able to serve each other and to be able to serve our schools. Those are the role models that we need in the new generation. Those are the folks that we look forward to seeing what they do in the days ahead. And as fun as it is to me, the students that are gathering this year are the children of the first generation that gathered 35 years ago to be able to start a movement, to be able to pray. 35 years ago, I was a youth minister. I was a part of that first seat at the poll in 1990. I was in leadership and helping organize students and getting the word out to be able to say, what can we do? What can we do to be able to serve each other in the nation? And the obvious answer began with, let's pray. And See at the Pole was born. It wasn't my idea. It was a group of students' idea. I just got to help fan the flame. So, Mr. President, students of this nation need the encouragement of this body to be able to say, well done, set a fresh new example, be the next generation of leaders, be the people that will rise up and do what is right, be the role models that are desperately needed, be individuals that will actually not only have a faith, but live your faith, all the principles of the faith. We could certainly use individuals in our nation right now that are living the most basic principles of loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and loving your neighbor as yourself. So to the students of this nation, Mr. President, I would encourage them to see at the poll next Wednesday morning. And this coming Wednesday morning, September the 24th, you can be assured I'm going to be parked across the street from a campus, watching a group of students pray for a nation that needs help. And I will join them in saying, God, help us. We need your help. I'll see you at the poll.